It's a 1970 Karmann Ghia. It's in pretty perfect original condition. It's got 11,759 miles on it. Today I'm going to take the door card off because the door holder straps have lost their rubber over the years. So I thought I would show you what the inside of an untouched Karmann Ghia door looks like and a little bit about this procedure. First step is to pry off the windshield crank rubber, and then you remove this Phillips head screw. It's in there with Loctite, so make sure you have a well-fitting Phillips head screwdriver. Apply a lot of pressure and don't strip the head. Once the screw is removed, the crank handle just slides off. There's a little disc behind it that protects the back of the door card. Set that aside. The next step is to remove the finger plate from the door handle, which just pops out with a screwdriver very easily. Slide that out. And then the next step is to take out that screw and the whole door handle escutcheon, which is the piece that goes behind the handle itself. Once that screw is removed, the escutcheon just slides out over the handle. Put that aside. And you can see now we have complete access to the door card without anything obstructing it. On all Karmann Ghias, there are clips around the outside edge of the door card that clip into the metal of the door. You should use a protected screwdriver or a wood instrument to reach behind and pop each one of these out. You go around the edge one at a time and pop each one. I like to run it along until I can feel the next hook and just gently pry it out, and you'll see them, they pop out like that. Okay, all the clips around the edge are released. You'll see on the inside that the door handle for the inside of the car sits in a little metal bracket, and there's actually 2 additional clips in the middle of the door that are down inside. It's also a spring where the window crank goes, and you can see in this car it has its original foam around the door handle, which is starting to deteriorate because it's 50 years old, and the paper on the back of the door card, which I'll show you when I take it all the way off. But the way you take it off is to pop those middle 2 clips out and then gently lift it up and away from the car. So you can see the inside of the door. I'm going to be careful to unstick that paper before I pull it all the way off. Okay, there was a little glue holding that paper in place, but now I can just lift it away from the car. And that's what the back of it looks like with the original paper from the factory. And you can see the mounting bracket for the interior door handle. Very simple, a little bit fragile. And sometimes when you're taking these off, the clips will actually come off of the door. The clips are easy to put back in. You just slide the edge of the clip into the hole, pull it forward till it's lined up with the trim on the edge, and then that sits ready to go into the hole in the door when we're ready to put this back on. A few things about the inside of this door. It even has the original foam around the door handle and guarding the rail that goes all the way to the back to release the latch. You can see down inside the door, the only debris is the old rotted rubber from the strap that we're going to replace, which is up here. And notice the pin holding the strap points up, not down, and the tip is painted body color. Anybody who's restoring a car, that's a detail that might be worth noting. And then inside here, there are 2 rollers with pins that hold them. Those pins point down, and the strap goes between them, and they provide the tension against the strap. But when there's no rubber on the strap, there's no tension. So we need to remove the strap by taking that pin out, take out one of the pins and rollers, pull out the metal piece, put a new strap in, replace the roller, replace the pins, and then put the door card back on. Picked up most of that deteriorated old rubber, and I'm just going to vacuum out the remainder, which is kind of like dust, just to get it nice and clean. I mentioned that this pin points up and is painted with the body. It's also got a C-clamp on it at the bottom. The best way to get that off, I think, is get something thin like a paint scraper and just start to wiggle it up from the bottom. It'll get loose, and then you can pop it off with a pair of pliers. And that's what the little C-clamp looks like. And the next thing to do is just wiggle that pin down through there. Might take a little tapping, might take a little pulling. It's been in there for 50 years. This guy was very happy in his factory home, but we got it down and then pulled this strap off of it on the front. And the next step is to go inside here and take the pin out of one of those rollers so I can take the whole strap out. All right, so I have this pin in here is now loose, so I can take it out through the top. Carefully bring it out, save that, and then back in this little roller. I only need to take out one because that releases the rest of the strap, and there it is. 50 years of corrosion. This is what they look like with the rubber on them. Quite different. And those grooves in it are where the rollers catch and hold the door about halfway open and then fully open on a Karmann Ghia. So I tap that pin back up through and now put the C-clamp back on it. So the way I like to do this, I just set that C-clamp on top like that. I use these hook nose, needle nose pliers, and then just press it down on. Took 2 hands, but it popped on. As I mentioned before, on an all original car, that would be the color of the body. With all the work, the paint came off, but I have some touch-up paint at the end. I'll paint it red just to keep the car looking original. As I mentioned, these 2 rollers on the inside put the tension against that strap. So I slide one roller back in, and you can see the pin above it. I'm just going to press that down in there to secure it, and then the door will work as it's supposed to. So that's it, and now you can see the door is holding itself open using that strap and the rollers and pins inside. And it's fully open now, and it has a stop about halfway. It also holds itself, and then of course, since these hinges have really never been touched, this thing is lined up perfect. Door swing's closed, nice solid sound, and that's it. And then we put back all the other pieces, starting with the door card. That's the bracket where the door handle goes, and this piece of fabric, rubber and fabric, had fallen off, but it really just sits in there. Let's see, should we just line it the right way? It sits in there, and the handle goes down inside here. This just buffers having metal against metal. When I open the door, it's fallen down inside the bottom of the door. So I'm going to put it in there and get the handle set into that as I put it back together. Make sure you have everything lined up properly, and then you just kind of go along one clip at a time. Find the clip, pop it in. Find the next one, pop it in, all the way around the outside of the door. And I started with those 2 that are down in the middle. I mentioned it, but I did put that spring back on the inside of the window crank. So next you reinstall the escutcheon and finger plate for the door handle, as well as the window crank. Also, when you put the window crank back on, don't forget this little plastic piece that goes on the inside. The replacement ones you buy these days generally don't have this, but this is an original piece of equipment that goes on the back of the window crank housing.